call this General Services Committee meeting together, July the 24th, 2017 at 12 noon. We've got 4 items on the agenda. The first one is purchase of 1 patrol vehicle and 3 unmarked vehicles. Chief White.
Well, good afternoon. This is a fairly standard request. These vehicles were originally included in our budget proposals for next year's fiscal year budget. However, due to some vacancy savings we had this year, we were able to fund them during this fiscal year and ultimately reducing our budget request for next year, which made Mr. Tymason extremely happy. What we're looking to do is basically purchase 1 vehicle for the patrol division and 3 for the investigative division. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
Nope. Oh, you're surprised, right?
Need them. You want to get over there and go swimming, huh?
I don't.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the purchase of 1 patrol vehicle and 3 unmarked
I'll
vehicles.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Brooks Seaplane Agreement Renewal. Monty.
Good afternoon, councilors. I'm here filling in for Bill Greenwood, and we're asking that the General Services forward to City Council the extension of the Brooks Seaplane lease agreement. The current lease expires in 2019, and they've submitted in writing to extend the agreement till 2022. Brooks Seaplane has been an excellent tenant. They always pay their bills on time, and every year the lease amount goes up according to the Consumer Price Index. We believe it's a fair request.
Any questions?
I just had one question. Isn't this early to be renewing it? It feels like,
I'm not actually familiar with how they do it. I thought that, so reading it too, since I'm filling in for Bill, I don't have those details as far as why they're doing it so far in advance. But I imagine that it has to be done before it comes up, but that's 2 years away. So that'd be a question I could have Bill get back to you on.
Monty, I have one question. Have we ever had another seaplane company show any interest in leasing from us as well?
I asked Bill about that last week, and he said no. Just to get somebody that could come in and provide that service with the same expertise, it would be nearly impossible. If somebody came forward and said, you know, I'm interested in this, that might be something that in the future we would put it out to bid.
But we've never been approached. No. Okay.
so I don't have any problem with it. I'm just really curious Mike, do you know any reason why this would be renewed like almost a year earlier than it expires?
No, unless it's their business planning or just something they're planning for the future, but I don't know.
So did Brooks come to us to extend it, or was this a Parks thing?
I think they submitted a letter is what it said.
Okay,
Is that correct, Monty? They sent.
Yes.
okay. Well, there's nothing that prohibits it being renewed early, as far as we know, so, okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Do you want me to make the motion?
Yeah, make the motion.
I'll make a motion to extend the lease agreement with Brooks Seaplane.
I'll second it.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, Monty.
Thank you.
Item number 3, change order for 2017 open trench sewer project. Mike.
Good afternoon, council. I know that I don't typically see folks at General Services, so bear with me, but I'll do things similar to how we do at Public Works. Before you is a staff report from the wastewater utility where we're seeking basically approval of the change orders for this year's open trench project. Just to give you a brief history of it, we were advertising for the project and we were approached to work with our streets department to do the asphalt paving and road prep work. And given that this year we had a really harsh winter on our roads, streets was reprioritized to combat the potholes and some of the street related issues that we went ahead and revisited with the contractor that was received the lowest bid, asked them if they'd be willing to honor the prices for asphalt and base course to, as part of the regular project that we removed prior to bid opening. They agreed. We went ahead and gave them the work to complete the project under schedule and within our budget. We also had change order number 3, which included adding 3 new pedestrian ramps and additional curbing and sidewalk to accommodate those pedestrian ramps. So I have broken out in the staff report the 3 different change order itemized prices, which comes to a total of $134, $132, $41. Now, keeping in mind that wastewater would have been paying for this asphalt anyways, whether we paid streets or the contractor, this was part of the original scope of work for this project. Presently, we still have budget remaining. Keep in mind that roughly about 44% of that change order, which amounts to $58,763.98, is also going to be reimbursed to the wastewater utilities from cost sharing with other departments. And with that, we recommend that council approve these change orders to, for the total amount of $134,132 and 41 cents. And with that, if you have any questions.
Any questions?
So, Mike, were you saying then that the work that we intended to have the streets department do, when this job was originally advertised, was that work part of the original advertisement, the line items were?
Yes, that work was originally in the advertisement 1 week before the bid openings were due. We went ahead and pulled the asphalt and road prep from the contract to work with the streets, but there was no way of forecasting that we'd have this much destruction on our roads, and the streets department was already strapped to try to do their regular work, and it just made sense to just go ahead and revisit this with the contractor that was awarded the lowest bid.
Okay, and then the pedestrian ramps and all of that, was that in the original, or is this a new
That was an
piece?
actual change order afterthought. And the reason why is that, as you recall, we were going through an engineering transition period. The plans were originally approved by the previous engineer. Wastewater approached a new engineer, and we took a look at it to see what needed to be done out there in order to make the street more uniform for drainage into the existing stormwater system. We would have had to do something differently with those pedestrian ramps anyways.
So there was a design change there.
Yes.
Okay,
Any questions? We should be thankful if we don't have the streets like Spokane.
Yes.
Okay, need a motion.
I'll make a motion that, boy, that's weird for me to make a motion. I'm such not a fan of change orders, so. But I will make a motion on this one, because it seems like we were already doing that, to approve the change orders 1 through 3 for an increased amount of $134,132.41 to the agreement with Big Sky Development for the open trench sewer project.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, what about item number 4, manhole utility adjustment? Mike again.
Okay, good afternoon, council. Again, today I'd like to have an opportunity to present a pilot test proposal for adjusting our manholes and other utilities within our city streets. This slide here is a picture of one of our manholes on Harrison. And as you can see, well, it's less than favorable. Wastewater shares the growing concerns with the public with regards to our utility adjustments. And so last year, working with other departments and other municipalities and cities, we wanted to evaluate what options we had to resolve some of these settling problems that we're having with our utility adjustments. First, I think it's important that the public understand the progression of deterioration that occurs within pavement. I have two slides right here. The one on the left is Hastings. This is our open trench project that you just approved one of the change orders for. As you can see, we adjust the manholes prior to pavement, and we have a nice clean surface that blends in nicely with the manhole. On 15th Street, the slide to the right, we have a manhole that you can see the actual depression ring is forming around the manhole access. And I'm going to pick manholes mostly because, well, I'm the wastewater utility department, so we'll just target on that mostly. On 4th Street, we have received numerous concerns about some of the manholes there, and we have one here that's actually 16 years old, and you can see how the depression ring starts to go away from the manhole and you start actually breaking apart. There's a slide on the right. Well, Ron, I need your help to determine how long this has been here. But it's really, really old. And you can see it's just, it's not really working out for us. And I'm not saying that you're really, really old, Ron. I'm just saying that you have a lot of wisdom when it comes to our streets. And so with that, the causes. Well, normal deterioration is always common with asphalt streets. And we have Tim Martin here that probably can attest to this. You know, I listed some of the factors that are possibly to the regular deterioration of asphalt streets. They don't always last that long. What we do know is that the manholes are not moving because the sewer is still flowing. So all likelihood, it's the street that's adjusting up and down, expanding and contracting. Now, some of the factors that we believe that's leading to these premature deteriorations of our patches around our utilities is compaction, both base and asphalt, temperatures of asphalt, and possibly poor drainage. Now, in 2015, we revised our standard to include a thickened collar of concrete and CDF. On the left of this manhole, this picture depicts the cross-section view of a manhole. On the left over here shows that the concrete goes up to the finished grade surface. Over here, we're proposing, well, in 2015, we changed the standard to include a thickened collar of concrete and asphalt. This is applicable for both new and existing adjustments for within pavement or off-road. And we believe that this will resolve the compaction-related issues that's associated with the settling around our utilities out there. Now, sometimes adjustments just happen. There's no way around it, and we have to think, okay, when this happens, what can we do about it? Or at least what can we do differently? This slide shows you two depictions of a diamond cut, which is actually done last year on one of our open trench projects, as well as a round cut in Lewiston. As you can see, this round cut does show that the concrete does fail. We know that concrete will fail as long as we use salts on our roads. So we believe that asphalt holds more durability against the salts. Let's first figure out what's going to work best here. Diamond cuts. This is what we're currently using in the city. The left-hand picture depicts concrete, what was used. As you can see, it too cracks as well as the asphalt over here. The difference between the two is if you look closely, you can see that asphalt tends to settle more, which prompts more destruction of the manhole ring and lid. Concrete doesn't always doesn't lead to that destruction. The diamond pattern also, if we look at this, both slides, you can see how at the corners, the street starts cracking away from the diamond cut. You can see that both for asphalt and concrete. What we do know is that we do have settling issues over here with the diamond cut and asphalt. Round cuts. Here are two round cuts, ones that we did here at the city. The left-hand one side, the smaller one, we did 17 years ago. There is no damage done to this manhole. Over here on the right-hand side is one that we did here about 10 years ago. You can see it's still cracking, and cracks still will happen out here in the road, but there's no promulgation from a corner. The cracks don't match up with the cracks in the concrete. You can see right there, the crack in the concrete versus the crack in the asphalt is away from that. So we find that there's less demag, we'll fix that, less damage to the ring and lids and unnoticeable settling issues. Now, through research, we were able to find a product that's out there. We presented this to the other departments, storm, water, and streets. And so far, this has received some reviews from our departments, but I also reached out to other communities. And Lewiston actually employs this round cutting technology, and they're finding that their manholes had to be modified slightly, but they end up withstanding the abuse of road wear and what we call premature deterioration of the asphalt. The unit that is shown here is adjustable. It cuts deep. It cuts for $1,000 to $2,500 per manhole, and that depends on the depth and the complexity of the traffic control. And if you have a minute, I'd like to show you a presentation of it. Would you guys game?
You okay with the presentation?
Okay. So we're trying to this.
Manhole chimney sections, the top part of the sanitary sewer manhole structure, are often not level with the road, causing a traffic hazard. Manhole chimneys leak, causing high sewage treatment costs and overflows into lakes and streams. The Mr. Manhole Chimney Replacement System addresses the bump and leak problems by quickly removing the manhole chimney and replacing it with a new, structurally sound, watertight assembly. The speed plate is placed inside the manhole frame and functions as a centering point for the Mr. Manhole cutter extractor. Engineers agree that round repairs are far superior to square repairs. The Mr. Manhole cutter extractor enables a perfect round cut with full road penetration for a high-quality repair. The repair can be completed in a fraction of the time required by conventional methods. The cutter extractor is a 900-pound dry cut machine for asphalt and concrete using replaceable carbide teeth. The cutter can remove most manhole frames in less than 10 minutes. The cutter is adjustable in cutting diameter to 72 inches. After cutting and extracting the manhole frame, it can be disengaged by rotating the cutter shaft. The frame can be replaced or cleaned and reused. The system will cut the liner to the appropriate slope and height. The Mr. Manhole white urethane sealant will be applied to the insert liner and the liner placed on the manhole cone. A water-activated strip is placed at the joint. An additional bead of sealant is applied to bond the frame to the liner. The lid is replaced and concrete is poured as a combination adjusting ring and collar. Epoxy-coated rebar are placed every 6 inches. The concrete is consolidated with a vibrator. The concrete is smoothed and dyed black to match the surrounding pavement. A brushed finish is applied to the concrete. A pourable black sealant is used to seal the edge of the repair. A high-quality concrete sealer is applied. The rebuild has a 20-year design life, will not leak, and is always level with the road.
Okay. So getting back to what we were showing is that this system takes minutes to make the cut, and a crew can essentially come in behind and backfill as the unit moves on to the next manhole. Here are some examples of the city of Lewiston's manholes. They don't use the dye there. They prefer to have the concrete for identifying their infrastructure. Here's some for some water valves. As you can see, the single valves and the valve cluster here is all encapsulated in concrete. Again, we think that concrete might be a great idea, and we'd like to pilot test it. But at the same time, because we use salts on our roads and Lewiston does not, we want to see whether or not this will pan out. So the proposal that we're gonna pitch before council is that, you know, we would like to do this pilot test for procurement of under $50,000. We'll get this construction done this August and September. Wastewater is prepared to select 12 manholes on our arterial streets that need to be adjusted anyways. And so there'll be 4 different city standards that we utilize. We will work with water, storm, and streets departments to see if they want to jump on the bandwagon. To keep costs down, the contractor has actually asked us to consider providing traffic control and the hydrovac excavation. Wastewater will monitor the wear and tear on the utilities and the streets. We have invited 7 communities that have expressed interest to come watch us. I believe that Lakes Highway District has also expressed an interest. Wastewater has remaining budget in our rehab and replacement program to do this project. We would also like to consider whether or not we want to do future contract for professional services to have this done versus having city staff purchase the equipment and do it in-house. And then wastewater will ultimately follow up with a final report on this pilot study. With that, I'll entertain any questions that you may have or comments.
Any questions?
I just had a couple things came to mind. Didn't we hear about this round cutting process a while back?
I just briefly touched base on it yes, I did.
Okay.
I briefly touched base on it, and one of the council members has asked that I do a full-blown presentation so that the public could also see this as well and provide additional comments if necessary.
And so what you're talking about is there's a contractor that owns one of these Mr. Manhole operations, and you would have a contract to do the specific manholes you're talking about with that contractor?
Yes,
So
the
it would
nearest
be-
contractor that I can find is in Montana. There are other municipalities, such as the city of Lewiston that has this, city of Pasco has this, but everyone else is pretty much out of our area. I have reached out to the local contractors. The smaller contractors seem to express an interest to invest in this if it's worth their while. And so if we did like a professional services contract where we have that contractor provide us with a quote, and if the quote seemed reasonable based on depth, we could do a 2-year contract with a possible extension of another 2 years, similar to how we do our small rosters contracts.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I guess that's what kind of my line of thinking is that if you're going to put these projects out to bid and you don't have contractors that have the capability to comply with a new procedure that you take on, I was trying to get my head around how that would work.
Sure.
If they don't have the equipment, or if then the city then is obligated to buy the equipment themselves if they decide that. And my only other question was, have you talked with any municipalities that do use salt on their roads to see how this round cutting holds up with it?
I have. This technology's been out only several years. And I have talked with 2 communities in Montana up by the Kalispell area. And they love it, but they can't tell you yet what the
It's
salt
new.
impact is. We do know that salt, and I can attest to this to my driveway, that the salts do react with concrete. But if you've noticed, what they've done in here is they've added a sealant on there as well as a joint sealer. I've consulted with ITD, and they've provided me what they use for a joint sealer. Little different application. They run theirs down the middle of the road where 2 pavement lines, edge of pavements from their paving machine match up. Well, wastewater considered, could we use the same thing around the manholes and around that round cut to help minimize the amount of water that seeps in through the cracks? We think that this might be a viable option. Again, the pilot study will determine that. We would like to give the pilot study an opportunity to see, just how durable this is. May I remind council that we've done this with concrete, but the wastewater utility just kind of whipped up out in the field, and we actually jackhammered the road. But we didn't add the sealant around there, and so the road is still cracking away from the round cuts. But the key thing here is that the manhole lid and rings are not being damaged. Last winter, we had one that broke the ring, which ended up breaking the lid, half of which fell into the manhole. The other half skipped down the road 60 feet. Luckily, morning rush hour on Ramsey, no one drove into it before we were able to get out there and get that taken care of. So our end goal is to increase the longevity of these patches.
And I know with, purchasing vehicles and extending change orders and going on to these kind of projects, I just want to make sure that we're being fair with all the vendors and even, the extension of the seaplane contract, if there's other people who are interested, we're being fair with letting this work out to everyone, so. You're planning on doing a presentation on this whole thing to get approval for this test pilot program to full council?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
That's what the other
Hear
council
more.
member has asked me to do, so.
we'll hear more.
I'm just running this past you guys up front, kind of pre-grease the skids.
Perfect.
Any questions?
Nope, I don't have any questions. Just thank you for a great presentation and your
Great.
time.
Thank you.
Tim, what's your thinking on this?
Sir, I personally think Mike is onto something here. I mean, every year the department will spend 4 to 6 weeks just repairing manholes around town. And, we don't have the technology to do anything but square cuts. And when you have a piece of equipment like this that will shave your time down to, say, an hour, hour and a half even, versus many hours of one crew trying to cut, one crew coming in and lifting it, one crew coming back and setting them. We're only getting maybe 40 or 50 of these done, in a week and a half, 2 week span, where we've got issues all over town with these. And I look at it as one is a huge labor saver that we can give the community more bang for our buck. And whether we end up with all concrete or a concrete with an asphalt, or a sealer, I think, Mike is open, is let's just do what's best for the community right now and look at it. And again, I think it's a great thing.
Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point, all we're asking for is permission to pilot this program. And we do have a substantial number of manholes around town that do not fit well with the street. They're either high or they're low. And in fact, just last week, Sam and I were visiting because we wanted to find some strategies to work on this, so this is very timely. Former Mayor Johnson called me expressing concern about our manholes around town, and I said we would try to find something to work on that. And he mentioned 4th Street. I drive up 7th a lot, and I noticed those manholes, I dodged them. So I really would like to at least have the opportunity to pilot this and see if we can improve that. It's not just an improvement for wastewater, it's an improvement for our streets as well.
Okay, thank you.
And our budget, it sounds like.
Any questions? Need a motion then?
I'd make a motion to adjourn, because this didn't require action, correct?
Okay, should we set a time to have a presentation on this?
I will do whatever council would like to have done on this. If you would like to have this done privately, or we can do this openly.
You probably should. We're just, because this didn't have a request for a motion. So what your plans are to bring this to a full council meeting and get council approval for the test pilot program?
Sure, yes. But being that it is lengthy, I would be more than happy to come in and do a presentation to council, that's the long version, and then give an abridged version at the council meeting. However, I think that if we do that, what we might want to do is encourage public input and comment on this. And, we have the communities sharing growing concerns. I'm fielding calls quite often, more so than I'd like, but fielding calls about what are we going to do about it. And keep in mind that we had a really harsh winter. So I believe that this is something that I'll be more than happy to bring before council.
So
upon
then
your
the next
request.
steps would be to just have you schedule it, or do we need to direct to have it put on the council agenda?
Well, we should set a time when we want to put it on the council agenda. Do we want to set a special time?
Next meeting? Perhaps we can do this at the next council meeting? Is
That's
that
fine with
meeting?
me. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay,
I'll be more than happy to do that.
That'll be great.
okay.
Okay, you can put me last even. Any other questions?
Nope.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.